It's far too common that people reflect on a relationship that derailed and wonder to themselves, how did I not see that coming? My partner has changed so much. Relationship experts suggest that falling in love changes how we perceive a partner. Our brain isn't lying to us, but it certainly prioritizes certain information and downplays other details, which can make us see someone through a more idealized lens. To help you take off those rose-colored glasses, in this video, I'm going to share with you what I think are 10 red flags in a romantic relationship that I strongly encourage you to pay attention to. But before we start, hi there, my name is Ashley Phillips and I'm a practicing trauma therapist and the founder of the Kelowna EMDR Clinic. If this is your first time on my channel, welcome. Here you'll find videos about trauma, various effects that it can have on people, my experience in private practice, and my favorite trauma therapy, EMDR. I invite you to hit that subscribe button so that my future videos appear directly in your feed. All right, let's get to the topic at hand. Before I give you my 10 red flags, I'm curious what comes to mind for you when you think of a red flag in a relationship. Take the first one that comes to mind and put it in the comment below. Okay, the first red flag I want to talk about is when you are in a one-sided relationship where your partner is not putting in the effort. A relationship is a shared project, and it's worrying when one person is contributing to it and the other person is just kind of there along for the ride. Effort can look like different things. It can be physical effort of making meals or looking after the household. It can be the mental effort of planning events or remembering important dates. Or it can be the emotional effort of checking in and caring about your partner's well-being and success. If you're in a relationship with someone who is not putting in the effort, it's a sign that they're not exactly invested in the relationship. In my experience, the best relationships are ones where both partners feel like they're not doing enough for each other. The other side of the coin is that if both partners feel like they're doing too much, it's a recipe for disaster. The next red flag is when your partner criticizes you and cuts you down. Now, this is different from feedback. Feedback sounds like, hey, it bothered me when you did X. Feedback is specific and it's about a moment or a situation, and it's provided with the goal of making things better between the two of you. Being in a relationship is a collaboration and we have to communicate with each other. Criticism is more like a steady drip of negative comments that undermine you. Comments like, you're too sensitive, you're too much, you are always messing stuff up, or are you dumb or something? Criticism can be slow and gradual, but ultimately your self-esteem suffers and you may start to believe the story. A good partner will be your cheerleader and your reality check. For example, they may be very supportive about you going back to school and at the same time have concerns with your program choice because of the cost of it and the low salary range of the profession once you're done. The bottom line is, if your partner is tearing you down instead of building you up, don't ignore it. Okay, red flag number 3, your partner makes fun of you, especially in front of others. I'm not talking about playful teasing that you and your partner actually enjoy. I'm talking about jokes that leave you feeling small, hurt, and embarrassed, especially when there's an audience. And this one stings in a specific way because it's public, and you might feel pressure to laugh along so you seem like the easygoing person. This is a way for your partner to get away with put-downs since it hides behind humor and can make it look like you're being unreasonable if you push back. Over time, it can train you to stay quiet and small, especially around others. So here's the rule of thumb. If the joke is at your expense and it happens again and again, especially after having conversations about how it hurts you, that's not humor, that's a big red flag. A good partner should be in your corner, being your support in front of others. Next, I want to talk about the it's you, not me attitude or lack of accountability. If your partner cannot say, I was wrong, apologize, and take responsibility for their actions, words, and behaviors, do not ignore it. A healthy relationship requires both people to say, yeah, that was on me, and follow up with an action that is congruent with their words. If, on the other hand, it's somehow always your fault, your flaws, your issues, and your overreactions, that's really worth paying attention to. Another red flag is when your partner is not respecting you when you don't want to have sex. In my books, this is one of the non-negotiables. Your no needs to be a complete sentence every time. There is no need for guilt trips, sulking, or wearing you down. A partner who pouts, pressures, or makes you feel like you owe them something physical is crossing a real line. Respecting boundaries isn't a nice to have quality in a relationship, it's a baseline requirement. Now, sex in a relationship is more nuanced and is a complex topic, and a lot can be said about it, which I'm not going to do in this video. What I will say though is that if you and your partner have very different sex drives, where it creates a lot of friction, I suggest you start exploring each other's accelerators and brakes, which are things that increase or decrease your desire to get intimate. You'll find more information about this when you look up Dr. Emily Nagoski. Okay, red flag number 6, love bombing. This is when your partner oscillates between periods of incredible intensity and withdrawal, like the Hot and Cold song by Katy Perry. When it's intense, you get this incredible affection, grand gestures, constant texts, and over-the-top statements like, "I've never felt this way about anyone." Once there is some attachment, then it is quickly followed by withdrawal, where your partner pulls back and cools their enthusiasm, which can be rather confusing if you're on the receiving end of it. Your partner could be using their love and affection as a tool of manipulation and leverage. So if the intensity of your relationship feels more like this roller coaster with huge peaks and rapid drops, it's definitely worth paying attention to. Next is when your partner lives beyond their means. Finances are a very big part of any serious relationship, and it's important to keep in mind that money stress is one of the top reasons why relationships break down. And that's why paying attention to how your partner treats their finances early on in the relationship is so important. I want to emphasize that I'm not talking about a situation where someone doesn't make a lot of money. Instead, I'm talking about a situation when someone consistently overspends by living beyond their means and is accumulating debt. It may not be obvious. They may overspend on invisible purchases such as gifts for others, meals out, or a gambling problem. And it may not affect you early on, but you'll definitely be affected when your finances are more interconnected. Even if you keep your finances separate, you can still be deeply impacted by the financial decisions that your partner makes, because family law will generally treat your finances as joint, regardless of whose name is on the bank account. And if you're the type of person who prefers to hand over management of household finances to your partner, it becomes that much more imperative to make sure that you and your partner share the same financial values. In the situation where your partner is in charge of the finances, it's a major red flag if they restrict your access to the details of your financial situation, your funds, or even put you on an allowance for basic necessities. Red flag number 8 is when your partner wants you to be more like them. In healthy relationships, it's perfectly normal for people to have their own interests, their friends, and hobbies. And that's not to say that you're not going to have some of those things in common, but a relationship should have room for two whole people instead of one person's identity slowly being absorbed into the other's, which is part of enmeshment. So it's definitely a red flag when your partner seems threatened or jealous by your individuality, discourages you from pursuing your own interests, and instead wants you to slowly morph into a version of them. This is why I really don't like the phrase, "this is my better half," when people talk about their partners. The next red flag is when your partner tries to isolate you from your family and friends. This one is a little sneaky because it rarely shows up in a plain, like, you can't see your friends anymore. It can be more subtle and veiled with little comments like, "Do you really need to go out? I thought we'd spend some time together." It can be seemingly sweet and innocent comments like that that are intended to make you feel guilty for having a life outside of the relationship. Or you may find your partner gives you a cold shoulder when you go out and you're enjoying your life without them. And if you're not careful, over time, you may stop making plans without them because it's the path of least resistance. The scary part is that you often won't notice how small your world has gotten until you look up and you realize you haven't talked to your best friend in months. And finally, red flag number 10, physical abuse. This is less of a red flag and more of an SOS flare. And there's little nuance in this one. Any physical violence, no matter how minor or how many times it's followed by an apology, it's a serious red flag and a safety issue. It's not a relationship quirk to kind of work through. It's often escalates, and it rarely is a one-time thing, even when it's framed that way. And if this is something you're experiencing, please know that there's no version of, but they didn't mean it, that makes it okay. And support is out there when you're ready for it. So there you have it, the 10 red flags to pay attention to in a romantic relationship. If you're on the receiving end of any of these, I encourage you to just reflect on your relationship. Talking to a trusted family member, a friend, or a relationship counselor can be tremendously helpful, insightful, and empowering. If you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, why don't you give it a thumbs up? It will make it easier for others to find this information. And as a suggestion for what to watch next, I think you might like a video I made about weaponized incompetence. I'll put the link up on the screen and in the description below. I'll see you over there.